I was my youngest brother's drug dealer. He ended up in the hospital. He almost died. And I was ready to kill myself, like basically feeling the guilt of, supplying my brother with drugs and it nearly taking his life.
But I've also noticed from my own understanding and experience that exercise is very addictive as well. And it can, take you from one state of mind and we can turn onto it. And I've seen other people actually use exercise in a very abusive manner. Hi guys, I'm Christian Williams and welcome to another episode of CW Physique Transformation, the connection platform where I connect with like-minded people, all with the same passion to share and deliver a message to you. On today's podcast, I have Robert Eaton. He is a couple of months short of 38 years old. In 2012, Robert's story is very inspirational and very motivational. He actually ended up homeless. He was weighing 287 pounds with hypertension, high cholesterol, morbidly obese. And in less than 1.5 years, he turned all that around through exercise. Started out exercising, competing, losing 130 pounds, almost half his body weight, but becoming twice the man. Drugs kind of destroyed every part of Robert's life. He started competing as a pro bodybuilder and he started helping many people transform their lives too. He started a personal training company and within a few years, he owned his own gym. A few years later, he sold the gym and now he helps clients from all over the world transform their personal training business, potentially into something that they can move on from and sell. And today we have him on the show for you guys. So Robert, thank you once again for your time, my friend. It's been a privilege to have you on. How's everything going there for you?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Always happy to talk with people about this stuff, and think things are good, man. So things are really good.
So we did a podcast a few weeks ago, obviously, and we had a few conversations. And one of the things that kind of stuck out to me was the fact that you was quite open about your drug addiction, and how exercise has, transformed the way you felt and the way you looked. So, we're welcoming you on. One of the questions I have for you is at what point did you accept that you had a drug problem? And what was the trigger that you pulled that made you want to change?
Yeah, so I think most of my life I knew I had a drug problem, but I was just in so much pain that I never wanted to talk about it. I guess I had a lot of problems where, the drugs were my coping mechanism. So, I didn't want to call it a problem, but obviously my life was, I was an all honors high school student. I was an all-star athlete. When you started to see like the trajectory my life started to go on, it was very obvious that drugs were a problem, right? But they were my coping mechanism. And it was, where it really got me though is, me, I'm a firm believer in God. He's been a huge part of me turning my life around, and he kind of can set us up in these moments where we just could stop lying to ourselves. I didn't have a job. I was married to a woman 7 years older than me, was supposed to be a stepfather, was very not anything, not a stepfather for sure. I was my youngest brother's drug dealer. He ended up in the hospital. He almost died. And I was ready to kill myself, like basically feeling the guilt of, supplying my brother with drugs and it nearly taking his life. And it was in that moment, one night driving home on a bridge, I just had my brother give me drugs, and he was fighting for his life. He had just spent 2 months in the hospital. They kept him on the opiates because they didn't want him going through withdrawals while they were trying to get through the endocarditis and pneumonia that he had. So I was making him give me drugs after he had just almost died. And I'm driving home one night, and I had one of those moments where it's like, your brother's going to live, but your mom is going to bury you. And I just broke down and I pulled over on the side of a bridge. And I just, cried out to God, hey, save me from myself, man. I don't want to hurt people anymore. I know there's a lot of good inside me, regardless of anyone else could see that right now. I know you do. Just either get me free from this or just take me to the other side, because I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know how to stop. right? And it was less than a week later, man, I ended up homeless. The perfect chain of events. I ended up homeless, discovered I wasn't as hard as I thought I was, at least when it came to sleeping on the streets. And I checked into a state-run detox, and that's where everything kind of started for me, man. I just kind of gave up and try to put my hope and faith into something else other than myself. And that's where it all started.
That's beautiful. I mean, I guess, like you said, you become on this destructive path, and it takes you to that point before you can actually turn around. So when you hear this voice saying to you, that your mother's gonna bury you, was that God, or was that your higher self? Was that your inner dialogue?
For me, it was definitely God, man. Like I was listening to, I could tell you the moment I was listening to a Chris Daughtry song at the time, and it's a song about how this lady like ends up having to bury the love of her life. Like, so there was just like this song. I mean, it's a different dynamic with it being my mom, but it was just like, the emotions and like kind of feelings were over there with the song. And then just like, for me, it's like that spirit, dude, just hits you. And the inner dialogue if I was having inner dialogue with myself, I would have tried to feed it a different story back and go back and forth with myself. This kind of shook me to the core pretty fast, to where here I am just getting drugs, and all of a sudden now I'm on the side of the bridge crying, saying to get me free from it. That was for me the divine intervention.
So what was the path then? Obviously you end up illness, which was another gift, like you said, for you to know that you're vulnerable, to have the weaknesses that you didn't want to see. But did you just go cold turkey and come off everything and just ride it?
Yeah. So when you get into the detox facility, they give you a few things to kind of make it, not as bad, but I didn't have the privilege of going to like a nice fancy drug rehab where they make it really comfortable coming off it. Like it wasn't, for me. I needed it to be painful enough where I didn't want to experience it again. And unfortunately for me, a few days of feeling really bad, a few weeks of just being lethargic. But man, I had taken a drug called methadone for so long that just my insides for 6 months, man, my digestive system was just off, dude, to where like getting up in the morning was painful. But yeah, I quit. I took a few days worth of, some I guess you could call it a medication they give you in the facility. But then I got into a 12-step fellowship, and built my support, and my recovery really started around that.
Yeah, so what a lot of people don't realize is, any form of drug, and even alcohol and so forth, is a sedative. And there's a lot of internal movement that goes on in your body, just the blood around the heart pumping the blood around the veins. There's a lot of growing, there's a lot of taking place that without this sedative, that obviously you'd be in tremendous pain. And then obviously once you become addictive to the sedative, the body no longer releases the natural sedatives that it needs to. So when you come off these drugs, then the pain you're in is just torturous, because you feeling like, literally, that's where the saying goes, crawling in my skin. You just, this constant irritation, which, I've never experienced this, to be honest, but I can imagine how easy it would be just to turn back and go back to where you knew that the pain is no longer. So thank you for sharing that. That again, this is what brings me to this conversation, because there's been many people in my life, and there still are, that are addicted to certain drugs and alcohol, and just even behaviors where that they are going down a destructive path. And one of the reasons that obviously getting you on is to share your message and to help other people, and hopefully turn to fitness like you did, which we'll get into, but also to give me more information on how I can potentially, be there for others. So, exercise is tremendously beneficial for improving the state of being. As we know, we both, fitness coaches in that sense. But I've also noticed from my own understanding and experience that exercise is very addictive as well. And it can, take you from one state of mind that we can turn onto it. And I've seen other people actually use exercise in a very abusive manner. So I just want to know your thoughts on this. What do you feel? Have you ever felt yourself turn into something that's positive, and being, self-sabotaging from that source.
Absolutely. And it was fitness at one point, So when I got clean, most drug addicts lose a bunch of weight. Me being addicted to the drugs, I gained a bunch of weight. So my senior year in high school, I weighed about 185 pounds. By the time I got clean, I was 287 pounds, right? Most of that weight that I put on, over like 100 pounds, none of it was good weight. So you take the way of the drugs, and now all of a sudden, when I look in the mirror, I can actually see what I've become, right? And then the doctor tell me, you are morbidly obese, you're hypertensive, you have high cholesterol, you're pre-diabetic, I need to put you on medication. And I walked out that day saying, no, I'm not going to do that. This of everything that I've messed up in my life that I got to repair through the drug addiction, this I actually have the most control over right now. Like I can really dictate the results and how fast I can recover here. Yeah, it's going to take time, but the relationships that I ruined in my life, that's really dependent on other people coming alongside and being willing to work on it. My physical body, I have a lot of control over. So I threw myself into the gym right away. I walked out of that day and no medication, and I got right to work in the gym, and physically, like you mentioned to them, a year and a half later, I went from the fattest guy in the gym to the most ripped guy in the gym, and did it all naturally, a lot of hard work, but I got really obsessive, because I would still look in the mirror, and where you guys would see the six pack and the RIT and all this, and I still seen that other guy that I was, a year and a half prior. And at this, where it really kind of came out is, my now wife and I, we came out to Texas. We were living in Florida to look for our wedding venue. And the first 3 days that we got here, we went camping with her family before we went to look for the venues. And man, I was super, super strict on everything that I was doing. I ate basically the same foods every day. I knew my macros. I knew all the numbers. Like I was very rigid. I did not go outside of the box at all. And we went camping for 3 days, and we're in the woods, basically eating like hot dogs and eating food out of a can. And like, I had a meltdown. Like I lost it. And it's the first time I went on a trip with my fiance's at the time's parents and her brothers. And we got back to her mom's house, and she's like, we were laying in bed, and she's like, I don't think we need to go look for a wedding venue tomorrow. Like I can't marry you in the condition that you're in. Right. And from the outside, you would think that I had everything going on. Look, I lost all this weight, career wise is doing better. Relationships, everything looked good. But inside, there was still a lot of pain, still a lot of hurt, and it was still causing some, obviously some damage in my life. And I remember that night I told her, like, you know what, look, let's go look. And I promise you, when we get home, this will change. I'm going to get this under control. And, we found our wedding venue. And when we got home, man, I took a hard look in the mirror and got to work at fixing that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a lifetime of not just with yourself, but with us all. I mean, if you're still breathing, then that means you still got more work to do on yourself. Life is a journey of expansion, in my opinion. There's a lot of lessons that come your way. There's a lot of mistakes to learn from. And once you've achieved all this wisdom, and once you've achieved enlightenment, then there's no longer any reason to stay, apart from pass that on to the peers or the people around you and below you. So, I think definitely, having somebody you trust, like your wife, and I know, your wife is a big inspiration in your life, the same as mine. And it's probably someone you trust more than anyone, even yourself on times. So having her kind of lay it down on the line, allows you to look in the mirror like you've done. The reason why I've asked is, I'm addicted to working out, man, 100%. I'm addicted. I need to train. If I don't work out, I'm not the same person. I'm irritated, I'm catchy, even if I'm not training for anything in particular, like the way I look, I just need that endorphin release. I'm mindful about the other people in my life and not to make it a difficult experience for those around me. But it's definitely, and that's one of the questions I was thinking about, is I've seen people turn to the workout and be very abusive. I mean, we've all, including myself, I remember when we lost my mother-in-law to alcohol abuse. She fell over on a Friday night, drunk and vomited, and 2 days later, she died of pneumonia. I was in the gym. I was preparing for a competition. 5 weeks later, Mr. Wales, and I was taking that pain out of myself. I was like aggressive, and just it was my therapy, but also it was my whip as well. It was my vent on myself. So, and again, it brings me to that point there. So obviously training has been very beneficial for you, of course, on times. How beneficial has it got you through them dark times?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, I mean, right now I got to a place in my life where, and I work out almost every day. Like, yeah, I rest. I don't work out every day, but exercise is a big part of my life, right? Just relieving stress. If I start to feel anxious and antsy, man, get in there and getting the heart rate up, get the blood flowing, get your water, oxygen levels up. I mean, it's highly beneficial. I just had to get to a point where when I look in the mirror, I don't like my whole self-worth and self-identity. My identity is not just built around the physique that I'm carrying around that day. That there's so much more than that. And you can use that both ways, right? You can use that in a very unhealthy way, like be very out of shape and unhealthy and say like how I look is not, but it's unhealthy that way. But then it's super unhealthy too if like, hey, I have to walk around 9%, or if I'm 12% body fat, like I'm not that good of a person, like you can do it either way. And so for me, I've gotten to a place where it's healthy. Like even right now, like I'm training every day, but man, I haven't been as consistent on hitting my macros. Oh well, I still eat really healthy, but I could actually go out and enjoy a meal with my wife. But fitness overall has transformed my life. Like I got clean. I started to take care of myself. I used to get made fun of because I spent basically all my money on supplements. I had a trainer before I had up my own car. I invested a lot into getting physically healthy, but the businesses I have built are around fitness. I would never have my wife and be married to the wife I have if I wouldn't have started taking care of myself. I've been able to help a lot of people transform their lives. And that's where fitness has been the most beneficial to me. Is not just what it's done for me, but how it's helped me be able to show up in the world and help other people, whether it's them getting into shape or now fitness professionals that I really believe in, helping them be able to help more people. So it's really transformed my whole life.
Yes, it's amazing, and I kind of, I understand everything you're talking about because it's very similar to even the mindset, and it's funny because, you start working out. I did the same when I was 15. I wanted to change the way I look, and I started working out, and I was unhappy with the way I look. I changed the way you look, and the old saying goes that the moment you want to improve the way you look is the day that you'll ever be happy with how you look. And I spent years, especially when I was competing, where I was never satisfied. I was never satisfied. And in the end, up until probably around 2 years ago, 3 years ago, well, actually, then I was achieved what I wanted, what I had in my vision. But I was questioning, like, dude, and actually, I spent some time with Ben Pekulski, and, we were having the same conversation. And he was like, why did you start training? Because then this was about more the mindset going into the gym of like destructive mentality of like, fueling myself like a beast to work out. He said, why did you start training? I was like, to feel better. He's like, well, are you feeling better? Are you feeling better in the workout, or are you feeling pissed off? Well, I'm feeling pissed off. He's like, you're defeating the point. And again, if you're starting on a journey to improve the way you look, especially when you start competing, because then it's just pure judgment. You're in judgment of yourself, and you're putting yourself in judgment. It becomes very difficult to not have that opinion. But like you said, it's about looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing yourself for multiple attributes rather than just from the way you look, but still being, having integrity and care for yourself to take care of the way you look. I had a conversation with my assistant a few days ago, and I was saying that, ultimately the goal should be for us all is to stand fully in the naked in the mirror, okay, and be in full acceptance and love for who you are, not just by the way you look, but by all your layers stripped. By naked, I mean with no filter. This is me, and this is what I come with, and this is who I am, and this is what I love. And that is a powerful goal I think we should all be seeking towards. So that's just there. So what advice would you give someone who is deep into their addiction? And we're talking about addiction of alcohol and drugs, somebody who's really, not oblivious to the addiction, but, any form of advice or suggestions given by other people, they're just victimizing themselves. They're playing the victim game. What advice would you give to them, Robert?
I would tell them that you're worth it. That I mean, this, I don't know. I tend to not really wear my emotions too much on my sleeve, but this is a pretty sensitive topic for me. Even yesterday, was International Overdose Awareness Day. A couple of my friends, a lot of my friends are dead. And they were worth it, not dying. They were worth being here today. And that if you're out there and you're using and you've been using a long time, chances are you've hurt a lot of people. And we tell ourselves a story that we're too far gone. We've created too much damage, that we're not worth it, that it's better that we just keep going down that road, because there's no light at the end of the tunnel for us. It's just dark. But that you are worth it, and that it can be done. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. I've wrecked every relationship in my life. I hurt everyone that I could, whether they're close to me, far from me. My life was a complete train wreck, and I did it. But I had to get to a place where I was, the pain of going through getting clean was less than the pain of continuing to go forward. Right. I can move into the lesser pain. And I could tell you now, if you reach out and ask for help, yeah, it's going to be painful in the beginning, and everything is, but it is a lot less painful getting clean than it is to get up every single day and trying to figure out where you're going to get the next one, who you're going to have to rob, who you're going to hurt, who you're going to lie to. It's a really painful, hard way to live. So you can get clean, man. Find somebody that knows about it, right? That isn't going to judge you, that you can, like you just said, be naked in front of, put it all on the table. And that will say, hey, I get it. I want to help you. Like I see the good in you, and let somebody else help you until until you can start helping yourself, man. But it's on you to take the first step and to dig deep somewhere in your heart and to listen to the voice that is true. The one that says that you are a good person, that you have a lot to offer to the world. Because in spite of all the negative stuff and all the lies, that whisper that we hear that's good deep inside of us, that's what actually keeps us alive. You need to find that and listen to it, and let that be the voice, that dictates the next move you make, and not the lie that you're going to tell yourself.
I mean, it's beautiful, and I'm writing things down, as you say, and listen to the voice, and build that relationship with that inner dialogue, as you say, and because that is ultimately what keeps you alive. And obviously, somebody who has an addiction, is usually, dealing with pain, physical, mental, emotional, whatever pain they're dealing with, whether that's drowning out their sorrows for whatever reason. And obviously, coming off that addiction, not only do they have the pain from the physical that we discussed, but obviously they got the pain that they're no longer aware of, or they're pushing down. So definitely, having help, to help discuss and maybe, heal these wounds, or, bring them to the surface, I guess. So let me ask you this. Obviously, one way to build that relationship and listen to the whispers of the intuition and so forth, what I found tremendously beneficial was meditation. Although many people that I know that are struggling with addiction, I probably wouldn't, and again, this is why I'm asking you, because I want your advice. I don't know if I would suggest to do meditation, because meditation is time alone, and if you are sabotaging and you're in pain. But what is your experience with this? Have you found meditation to be helpful for building this relationship?
So meditation is great once you get into recovery, right? And you could take those first few steps. It's a big part of recovery that's taught, regardless of any kind of route you take, whether it be, through the church or through, NA or AA or any kind of 12-step fellowship. Meditation is a big part of recovery, right? Because our mind is powerful, and where those conversations always continue in the beginning. Right now, when you're using the chance of sitting still and just letting go of everything for even a few minutes, pretty, impossible. The mind is just always racing. But long term, absolutely. In the beginning, in these first few steps, it's to take the action and get some help. Get some help, and get it because you're worth it. Find someone that you could trust, reach out, and then these tools, these things that we do later on down the road, they all come into play. But you'll never get there if you don't give yourself a chance. And the only way you're going to give yourself a chance is if you do something. We have to do something. Ask for help.
So I have a friend of mine, my best friend actually, and he's been struggling with his addiction for a long time. Since I known him, to be honest, been struggling with his addiction. But the last couple of months, and he's accepted it, and he's been seeking help. And I've been talking to him a lot, and actually I took him on as a client really, because I was like, look, let's get you into a structure. Let me put a training plan. Let me, I didn't say anything about the alcohol and the drugs or whatever. It was just, okay, this is what I wanted to follow. I wanted to do these affirmations in the morning. I wanted to do this exercise. I wanted to hit these targets and eat these foods on these particular days. And if you drink, don't drink until this time type attitude. And, we worked together for a good few weeks. And, what he was saying to me is, first of all, he couldn't believe how beneficial he was feeling. And he tried all sorts of rehabilitation and coming off different drugs and alcohol, and the transformation he felt from nourishing his body with the right food and nourishing his mind with the right information. I had him listening to audiobooks. I had him listening to, like affirmation music, I am amazing, I am great, and really listening to the words, because I would ask him then, as part of his own work, being his coach, would be, okay, I want you to tell me what that meant to you. And tell me what you thought of this character in this book. And it was tremendously beneficial for him. So obviously it's helped you massively as well. And going into the pro level, I mean, you not only dropped some weight, but you literally you took it on and you become obsessive down that route. And now you're helping coaches all over the world deliver that same message and help other people. So, thank you for that. And what I want to know from you is, obviously you spoke about God, I know you're a believer in Jesus. I know your wife is a big influence in life, but who would you say is the biggest inspiration in your life, and why?
I mean, for me, yeah, it starts with God, right? But then when it comes to outside of that, and my wife, I turn to my wife a lot. But just a few guys, that are older than me, that live the kind of lifestyle that I want to live, and that care enough to help people like I do. To, just a few, like three different guys that I go to, and I typically meet like on a weekly basis, and I talk about life, talk about God, talk about the things I'm struggling with, and be able to go to them and be able to continue to be fed. So, I mean, those are the guys that are inspiring me, just being around a few different guys that I have basically what I want. And it's not anything financial or, in the gym or anything, just, being the husband and how I show up in the world, so finding people like that, and not that only have what you want, but are willing to help people get it too. So I have like three guys that I meet with that really help me and inspire me a lot. They're great husbands and they're great fathers, and that's the main source of inspiration I guess I look for right now, is to continue to grow, to be the husband that my wife deserves, and ultimately the father that, when we have kids, that they'll deserve. So that's who I turn to, man. And it's not And like we live in this world where we do a lot on the internet, right? And we run online businesses and we're connected to all these personalities across the world, and all that's great. But the one thing I want to share is these guys are all three local guys that you never find in any kind of ad for any kind of mindset stuff or anything like that. There are guys here that I meet with in person that I get to see how they're living, and can model that, and they feed me, you know?
Mm. Yeah, that's incredible. And again, I have some people that come to mind when you say this, and you know, every time I have a conversation with them, I admire the time, because it's organic, it's authentic, it's genuine, and it's deep. And like I said, you know, I look at these people, and you know, they are the husband, they are the father, they are the businessman as well. They are the, you know, they've got all the ducks in order. They're hardworking, and you know, I'm like inspired. I was just finished reading this book, Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if you've read this book. It's
Yeah,
very,
I've read
you
it.
know, the last two chapters, wow, it just fascinated me. The fact of, you know, when he was saying he would call the council every night of, you know, eight of the most kind of prestigious minds that he wanted to learn from, and he was asking them questions, and obviously, you know, a big part of that was his imagination. But like these three guys, I mean, you know them so well. If you closed your eyes and you meditated on them being in a room, I was talking to my wife about this today, is, you know, you could ask a question and know what the answer would be because you know them so well. And you could build that relationship, you know, again, like yourself and the inner dialogue. I mean, it's a very powerful tool, you know, to use. And one thing I know about spirituality and, you know, religion, I guess, although I'm not religious, but I'm interested in people's philosophy and understanding, is to see the unseen. You have to look upon it as if it's already been seen, and then the unseen becomes seen. So there's certain things like a goal that you can visualize and you can see it in your mind's eye. So you see it like it's already been seen, and then eventually it is seen. And again, you talk about Christ, and you talk about God, and you talk about intuition and higher self and whatever else it may be. But that's what you're doing, really. You're trusting the fact that these are there. They're there for you because you, again, in your words, you deserve it.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. It's powerful stuff. This is. So thank
Yeah. And
you so much.
one thing I want to touch on what you said is actually a big part of what I do is like our mind, when we set goals, like if I say, hey, I want to make $1 million, right? You know, something that a lot of people say, like our mind doesn't really process things like that. It doesn't see that, right? So in my closet, I have a vision board of what I want my life to look like, right? What are my goals? And when I reach my goals, my life will look a certain way. And you know, when someone first taught me this, like I didn't think much of it, but I started to learn more about the mind, that our mind sees images and shapes, right? That's what it associates things with. So I started putting these things on my vision board. Like there's a lady on the vision board with a horse, right? Because my wife always wanted a horse. Now my wife has two horses, right? There's these trips that we wanted to go on. We've been to those places now, right? There's all these things on my vision board. The only thing that's missing now in the middle is the ranch I want to have, right? But everything else has become a reality. And it was just, I had these goals and I put them in, made them real life, and there's pictures in front of me. I could see them every day. And my mind started. So when I'm going out into the world and doing the things I'm doing, I always know where I'm going, or where I'm at least trying to get to.
Brilliant. I like my vision boards above me here, and I have it. I got in my life. And, you know, I drew mine, so I drew it. My life. I have a book which is open, which I wrote a book. Now this was 2 years ago. I did this vision board. I have a microphone. Since then, I overcome my fear of speaking, and I've given speeches in front of thousands of people on stage. I have an house, which I just bought our house a few weeks ago. I have a first place British medal, which is now behind me, the gold medal at the back. I have a art of the world with a fatherly brother. It's a charity foundation that I just started, and I have a hand of a man and a child, and this is my son, who will be into the world hopefully within the next couple of years. And this is something that's missing at the moment, but he's on the way
Yeah.
because I know it. But I tell you what, Robert, right? I did this thing with, well, I did a few things. There's a lady I've seen, and I did a podcast with her. Her name's Dawn Appel. She's a great friend of mine. I've spent some time with her. She's helped me out with some regressions in the past, which have been tremendously beneficial, going back to past experiences and reliving them and changing how I felt in the time, which changed how I felt in the present. And a few months ago, I went to see her because I wanted to do a progression. I wanted to visualize a future that I knew is on the way. And I wanted to experience it like if it's already been lived and almost like if it's a memory. So it's so deeply embedded to my subconscious mind that every urge of the day goes in that direction. And as you said, part of our, clairvoyant ability in the sixth sense is through imagery. So I experienced nothing was materialistic. It was a sense of feeling of where I was and what I had accomplished, which was mainly wisdom and wisdom that I could pass on and help other people do the same. But I was crying my eyes out with like love. Wow, it was such a powerful experience. And now, man, I swear, we spoke off camera about, doing some work together. I'm so clear on where I want to get to. Well, I'm so clear on where I'm getting to more than where I want to because it's happening. These things are
Yeah.
powerful, and I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And that's
So,
something too, man. I think it's important for any guys that are listening to this that might be struggling, man, is, you hang around me long enough, you'll see I'm a guy's guy. I'm pretty alpha through. I got a pretty, really intense temperament. I'm choleric, a melancholy choleric guy. Like I'm pretty extreme guy. But man, therapy, like once you get going, I mean, hey, when you're first trying to get clean, guys that are struggling using, get help, man, get wherever you can get some help. But long-term, man, I'll just keep it. I mean, I have a psychiatrist. I have seen a psychologist. I get trauma therapy, right? And these are things. At one point, I have an elder in the church that walks me through being a better husband. Like I get help basically in every area of my life, business wise. Training for a long time. If I was going to go compete or do something again, competitive fitness wise, I would hire a coach because I know I'd be bought in, I'd be committed. Like, but the coaching is one thing, but man, getting help, man. Like I go to therapy every week, always, and my life would not be the same without it. And I know for us guys, man, it can be hard. And we've been taught, a lot of us, that that's for the weak people and we deal with them. But like, where has it got us, man? It's held a lot of us back, hey, when you're talking about crying, I remember the first time I ever let someone take me through a guided meditation it was for a trauma therapy. Like they're trying to like reframe some of this trauma that has happened to me in the past. Dude, I was crying. I couldn't even control it. And I didn't even want to do it at first. And then I was asked to do it again because immediately it helped. Like go find help, man. There's professionals out there. Our minds are very powerful. They can keep you stuck. Or if you let someone help you with them, you'll get free, and we get to choose which where we want to be.
And another note for all you guys out there, women really dig vulnerability. If you start expressing yourself in a way, all right, you become more manly and you become more attractive because, if you cross your hands and say that you know it all and you don't need any help, nobody likes that person. If you put your hand up and say, look, I'm willing to learn because I want to be better and I accept my vulnerabilities and I'm exposing them, that puts you in such a position to not only learn, but to be more accepted by yourself and others because perfection doesn't exist for one. It's something you can chase if you want, or you can just accept, and Robert, it's been amazing having you on. I got one last question for you before we kind of shoot out. Obviously, I'm going to put all your links in the comments below. So, your links to your Facebook. I know you're big on Facebook and you're helping clients improve and share that message. So we're going to put your links. And if you want to plug anything, that's absolutely fine because I want more people to be connected to minds like yourself. And the last question I have for you is if there was somebody that wants to transform their life, what is the one piece of advice that you would give them?
That you'll never do it on your own. That, like I just said a minute ago, that you're going to need help. Find people in every area of life. For me, I have it broken down. I have fitness specific people. I have business specific people. Fathers, find people in every area. Some of my mentors, like the guys that inspire me, are business owners that are fathers, because they get it, because we're living kind of the same lifestyle. But find people that have what you want, right? And that are willing to help you get it, and let them. That's the quickest way from point A to point B. And we need to get from A to B as quick as we can, because we're not the type of beings that like to wait. We want to see progress. We want to see it fast. And the quickest way to make progress is to find someone that's done it, that's skilled at helping people get it, that wants to help you get it, and let them.
Yeah. And on that note, and then help other people do the same.
And that's how you keep it. Right. That's where fitness changed for me. I won all these awards. I was doing all this great stuff, and I was miserable. And then I transitioned to where I was going to start helping people do it. And then I never had to worry about staying in shape again, because it was my purpose was bigger than myself.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. Where can people reach out to you, Robert? What's your Facebook and Instagram or website, anything that people can reach you on?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook, Robert Eaton. Maybe type in EATON, type in Houston, Texas. I'll probably pop up. Actually in the process for any guys out there, launching a podcast myself, Radical Recovery Podcast. It's on iTunes. You can find it on the different platforms. We haven't actually launched. We're still recording episodes for guys, that are looking to do that very thing, transform your life. If you've been at rock bottom, trying to get somewhere, bringing guys in that have dealt with it. So you can find me there, and you could also email me if you wanted to. It's robert@theglobalceo.com.
globalceo.com. I'm on it. Robert, thank you again, my man. I really appreciate it.
Me.
Thank you.
I'm happy.
And guys, there you are, another episode with another incredible mind willing to share the same messages for you. Comment on this video. I'm interested to know your thoughts on addiction, on meditation, on medication. If you haven't done yet, please subscribe to this channel, share this video, and stay tuned for more to come. Robert, I want to thank you one more time. And I also want to thank you one more time.